Hey, what is it, guys? So, your boy did well with Eldlich. We did zero brain thing, or as my friend Rob puts it, why do you keep telling people that Eldlich is zero brain deck type? You actually require some thought process, but I love convincing people that Eldlich is a zero brain deck, and it rewards you for just wanting to go to sleep on the table. So, I actually took this deck to Huddersfield for an event. I think there were about 21 players there, and did very, very well. I would have come first if I looked at the points because for the last round, all I needed to do was either draw or win, and I would have come first. But I didn't check my points. Scooped game 2 and thought I could win in time by just drawing the cards to just burn or prevent myself from dying. And that didn't happen, and we came second. But besides that, technically I didn't lose any of my matches. I just drew one. So technically I didn't really do that bad. I just lost to my own stupidity, but the deck worked perfectly fine. I'll go through the matchups at the end of the video, and before anyone states anything in the comment section, I will explain why we are playing this piece of stupid here. Besides that, let's just go straight into the deck. So for the Eldlich cards that I'm playing, we play the 2 Golden Lord, 1 black, 2 Cursed Eldland, 3 red, 3 conch, and 2 Haquera, and the 1 golden land forever. Now, I have gone back and forwards with a lot of these ratios for it, and the main 2 things that people notice is the golden land forever and the 2 golden lords. Now, a lot of people think that 2 golden lords is the standard and that should be played in every list, but I've gone backwards and forwards over testing this since the branded engine came out, theorizing for the Splight matchups, and I think the third is going to be correct moving forward because the amount of players that are maining DD Crow, the third Golden Lord, will come up. As long as you play this, though, very conservatively and you don't want to have 1 Lord on the field and 1 in grave, you'll actually do fine with this sort of ratio for it. If you were going to, you'd take out the Golden Land forever for it, but I would prefer Golden Land. The second thing for the ratios is the 2 Wakero. Certain OCG builds that I've looked at play the Wakero at 3. Unfortunately, it is a trap, so you are playing 1 turn behind with it, and if you're not going first, the third one is actually not good in any capacity. And then the last one is the Golden Land Forever. Now, the reason why I opted to play the Golden Land Forever is because the deck does not main Solemn Judgment. So this is like a searchable judgment. So if you open up Curse and a way to Lord, then this actually protects a lot of stuff. It prevents you from easily being blown out by cards like Lightning Storm or Evenly Matched, because Evenly is actually being sided in a lot of things because destruction of monsters is not as good anymore. But besides that, I actually think that this ratio is correct for it. It's personal preference if you want to play the Golden Land. Then for the second engine that we do play in Eldlich, we are playing the dogmatic cards of 1 Ecclesia, 2 Nydia's Servant, and 2 Punishment. I play this instead of the Ultimate Slayer package because I believe that it gives me more stuff out of it. Because regardless if you play the Ultimate Slayer package or not, the Ultimate Slayer would only be replacing these 3. The dogmatic punishments you would have to main anyways. But I feel that in this list, and because you're playing Eldlich, your opponent does not really want to ash these cards. They want to save their ash for either Scarlet Sanguine or for the Extravagance, because they get more out of it than if you just ashed this. And if they don't ash this, then it means that you get a free pop and a free search into this, which is just pretty decent for it overall. I don't play the Fleur-de-Lis anymore because Fleur was alright for doing big pushes, because it meant that if I already opened the Ecclesia, then I could get additional stuff, but I don't want to play Titaniclad in the extra anymore because it's just a bad idea overall. But that's it for the dogmatic stuff. For the rest of the spells that are the non-engine cards, we have to play the 3 obligatory extravagance and the 1 call by the grave. Now, the call by the grave is the what I would call the spell version of Hakwera. That's what I mainly use it for. I don't tend to use it for hand traps. I save it for my opponent's engine cards, because call buying the Toad when it's effective, when your opponent tries to Sply Elf, bring it back, is pretty decent. It hurts them a lot, so it prevents me having to deal with anything like that. It also is good against Tear, for the sole fact of I just stop them from their engine again, so it's just amazing like that. But that's all for the non-engine spells. For the non-engine traps, we play the obligatory 3 Torrential Tribute, doesn't need explaining, 3 Solemn Strike, again doesn't need explaining, and the 3 Skill Drain. Now, the reason why we play these three cards are all at 3 is for the sole purpose of you're playing ELDLICH. You play Skill Drain at 3 because it also wins you most matchups. Strike it's good going first. Going second, it's a lot worse. So if you are going second, you have to side it out. Torrential, do not side that card out ever. I contemplated playing 5 Torrentials in the form of 2 Needle Sealing, but I took the Needle Sealings out for something else. The only matchups where you debatably don't want to play this in is Tier, but besides that, every other matchup it's amazing as a card. And then for my personal choices for it, 3 Rivalry, 2 Ice Dragon's Prison, and the best monster that I actually do main is the Lava Golems. Now, a lot of you will say personal preference. No, Rivalry is not personal preference, you have to play it, but it's a personal preference whether you want to play Rivalry or Gozen Match. Now, I choose Rivalry of Warlords because I feel that it actually hits more stuff. Now, fair enough, Gozen Match does hit the Slight matchup, but I feel that this deck actually just has a naturally decent way of dealing with it because we play the 3 Lava Golem. The Ice Dragons and Prisons were originally Needle Sealings, but the reason why we've chosen to go with the Prison is because additional DD Crows, and as well as it's great for pushing for extra damage, because if you have a Lord and Ecclesia, you only need an extra 3k damage on board, which if you have any of your trap monsters, it means the damage is even less. And also, Ice Dragons is just amazing because if you go first against Tier, you can stop them from milling 8 instantly by just flipping up the Ice Dragons and saying, no, we're not dealing with that. So that's the main deck. It's a 40 card main deck. We don't want to play more because we're playing Trapped Off deck and we want to actually draw stuff. For the extra deck, we play the 1 Water Charmer, 2 Light Charmer, 1 Vampire Sucker, double Imduck, and these are for the link count. Now, the reason why we play this is because one of my friends was borrowing the Dark Charmer. Now, you may ask, why are we playing the Dark Charmer? Because in the extra deck, in the side deck, we have Dark targets. So, in game 1, it's terrible because we have no targets unless we Ice Dragon something back, which if we do, it's amazing. And game 2, it's just amazing because we side in the Dark target. The other reason we did play the Water one is we didn't have a Dark one at the time, and because a friend borrowed it, and yeah, the Water one actually did come up in one game where we Ice Dragon's Prisoned my opponent's Water target. Made this just to get rid of Eldritch Trap, and then use Aura to bring back the Water target again. But besides the funny meme factor of it, you do not play this card, ever. You play the Water Charmer instead. And don't think of playing the Fire target just because we play Lava Golem, because it is very, very rare that you will have the Fire target on your field. The Light target's obviously obligatory, all the Eldritch cards are light, and even the Dogmatic cards light. Vampire Sucker, it's funny under Rivalry of Warlords because you kill your opponent's entire field, then you use Sucker effect to give them a zombie, and you make sure Sucker's the only thing in attack position, everything else is in defense, and then you Conquistador pop this, so then your opponent can't out the monster without like having to tribute set, which is very rarely going to happen. And we play these over the Link Spider for the sole purpose of Link Spider does not have an effect. This has an effect of if your opponent puts something in the wrong zone, it will die for free. And that's the only reason we play this. Then for the fusion targets, we have the triple Natis and the 1 Fossil Warrior. Unfortunately, the reason why there's proxy is because one of my friends is borrowing my gold one at the moment. The Fossil Warrior could be the At Ignister if you wanted to play the At Ignister Sky Pegasus, but I prefer playing this because it allows me to pop whenever I need it to. Fair enough, it can only be done during my turn, but it allows me to disrupt, well, it's not a disruptive card. It's more of a, I just need to remove this one card so that I can continue my plays without any fear of anything specific, and it eats up a negate. So if I go first, my opponent makes Toad, it just freely outs it. Also, if my opponent was playing Dragon Link, which one of the matchups was that, we sent this to pop one of the other cards, and then we had this for when they made the Borrowed Savage, so then Savage had to negate. So we just saved this for the Borrowed Savage because it was 3 outs. We aren't playing any of the Super Poly stuff because we do not side into Super Poly, unfortunately. I was contemplating siding into it instead of having as much Link monsters as I do because it rarely does come up. And with the new Super Poly target, I do think that it will be worth it. But we play so much stuff that tributes and breaks our opponent's board that way that it doesn't really matter as much. And then finally for the Exceed stuff, we have the double platies. I was contemplating going back and forward with playing Tiras instead because we were going to play the Tiras and Zeus package so that they can't get rid of the Tiras because while it's got materials, it's immune to spells and traps, so which is just great and funny. But this is actually the better idea out of the two. Do the big train that goes burn because going into time it's very, very fun, and also because it summons this, which if you do not hit this off extravagance and it's gone into turn 3 or 4, you can just kill your opponent, because if they don't have the back row removal to deal with any of the god-awful back row that stops you from dying, then this just hits your opponent for abysmal amounts of damage. That's for the extra deck. The side deck's pretty standard. It comes in the form of the 2 sphere modes. We side these in with the golem if we go second, so then we have 5 ways of just cracking a board. Triple Inspector border, nobody ever sees this coming. Like, if I have to go first, we just summon this with a skill drain and pass. So, if my opponent summons something from the extract to attempt to out this, we flip up the skill drain. And then once they've outed the skill drain, they're back under Inspector border again. So it hurts the soul. Fair enough, if your opponent doesn't actually summon stuff to let you use monster effects, you can't just go Eldritch Send to bring itself back. But we're playing skill drain and many other cards to actually just apply pressure with Inspector border, and then you're just playing trap control. Then we also play the 3 Lord of the Heavenly Prisons. There is a very good reason why we are not meaning this, because in this format, nobody is playing back row removal in the main. They're all playing in the side in the form of Eradicator Virus, Harky's Feather Duster, Cosmic Cyclones. All the back row removal that is being main only really outs 1 card at a time. Even the tearalement field spell that outs my back row only can pop 1 thing at a time, so it's not really worth me playing Lord in the main deck when I can just play the board breaker of Lava Golem instead. And that's pretty much it for that. Then for the spell, we just play the 1 Harpy's Feather Duster. There doesn't really need to be any others. I don't bother with any others. For the other board breaker, the 3 Evenly Matched, it is amazing the amount of times where I have sided into Evenly and Lord of the Heavenly Prison. So then when my opponent cracks my field, I go end phase, activate a trap, activate my last trap, summon Lord, set Evenly Matched, and then during my opponent's turn I just get rid of everything but 2 cards. So it's just free stuff there. If your opponent's really, really not playing it as well, they can sometimes leave you with just 1 monster, leave you with nothing on the field. So in the case of I just ram Lord into one of my opponent's monsters, flip up the Evenly, and then we just break the board. And then the final 3 traps is the Solemn Judgment. If we go first, it's amazing. We would love to play this in the main. However, going second, it's kind of god-awful as a card, so we don't play it. All the cards that are actually in the side deck, the only ones that I most often sided in were the Triple Judgment, Triple Evenly, and the Triple Inspector border. These were the ones that always got sided in either if I was going first or going second. The other ones were a bit more debatable, depending on specific matchups, because Sphere mode only works if your opponent's going to make a big board. If not, it's kind of a dead card. And Lord of the Heavenly Prison, there were times where it was just not needed, because as long as you don't set all of your cards first turn, you only set up 2 or 3 disruption trap cards, you don't necessarily need the Lord. Now, fair enough, it is a good card in the sense of it protects your back row and gives you free access to Extravagance a few turns later, but it's not needed all the time. But yeah, that's really everything for the deck. I think the only thing that's really like the spice, quote unquote, that I play in the main is the 3 Lava Golem. Now, it's a back and forwards between Lava Golem and Lord, but I believe that in this format, not a lot of back row removal is being played except for Eradicator Virus. And if your opponent Eradicator Viruses you still have something in the form of the Eldritch traps that can reset themselves. Now, it's very, very sad if that happens, but we do still have searchable things to get to cards, such as we have the Ecclesia to search the punishment, so Virus doesn't do anything, and the Eldritch traps reset themselves, so then it just turns into a sense of just making sure that you don't die, which is very decent for the deck. As for the matchups that I had one against Tearalement Dragon Link, which was like a 55 card list where Chaos Ruler just made it so that they could just set up all of their fusion stuff for tier, which was pretty decent. But that's really it, guys, for the video. I don't really have any explanations for the matchup because some of them were decent, some of them were weird in the form of I had to go up against Bird Up, but they all end in a similar sort of way of you draw a Floodgate and you can win. Rivalry was literally the best card of the entire thing. The only time it hurt me was when I had the Ecclesia face up and I had Lord in hand and I didn't want to use Lord to get rid of my own Ecclesia. And I wanted to keep Rivalry up, so I didn't want to Lord get rid of that either. So that was the only thing that kind of hurts. That's why I had the back and forwards opinion of playing Goes and Match in the main because everything's a light target. But I think that the deck is perfectly fine the way that it is. Personal preference, if you want to play the Super Poly package and then have a bunch of Super Poly targets in the extra deck, it's completely up to you in that sort of regards. But I would personally play it. Fair enough, one of them is a decent dogmatic punishment target, but you're never going to summon the Madness Lord, and I'm not as worried against Flow